Failed prints, purge blocks, support material, it's all a waste product. And one of the detractions from 3D printing is that you're only printing knickknacks, or you're wasting so much plastic, and there's no way around that. You can throw this in a recycle bin, or you can attempt to make art from it, but what if there was a way where you could turn this back into filament that you could then print? We're going to take a look at the FelFil Filament Extruder, and we're going to see if we can take any of this scrap 3D printing material and turn it into filament, which we could then print stuff with. I'm Joel. This is 3D Printing Nerd. So here we have a box with some stuff on top of it. This was sent to me by FelFil, which makes this filament extruder. This is the fully assembled unit. This is not a kit, which is great because it means less time for me to put stuff together and more time for me to try and use stuff. They included some acrylonitrile.
He can't even read.
Butadiene.
Today, Junior?
It's ABS. These are ABS pellets. And over here, I can get this one. This is polylactic acid, or PLA. And on top of each of these containers is some pigment. Much like, remember, you know, when I went to Protopasta and I made filament and we put pigments in with their HT-PLA, it made it colorful in various ways. And so these pigments are for doing that. But let's set these aside and let's focus on this and what's in the box. As you open up this box, it's not very exciting. So inside the box is the filament extruder, but right on top is the handbook, and it kind of gives you an idea of what to expect when you open it up. It does say to go online and look at the updated manual, which I have done. Inside here is some PLA. Inside here is a power brick. Ooh. What they've done when sending the kit is they made it transparent. So you get to see everything that's inside. That's so awesome. I went and got a camera because while this is cool and all, I can't see the display. So if I angle it just like this, then what this camera sees is the filament as it hopefully spits out. And then what this camera sees right here is the FelFil extrusion unit. So this is good. All right, the instructions say to plug it in first, and it specifically says to plug AC power in and then attach power to the device, and then you flip the switch in the back, turn it on. Totally game for this. All right, so this plugger goes into that plugger. So this is very similar to the original power supply that came with the Robo R2. It's noisy because it has a fan in it. It's good to know. Let's plug this in, tighten the screw, and then we power it on. The display is on. It does say temperature 150°C. There's a knob on the front, which you can turn to adjust the temperature. And I'm going to click it to do 150. So I can up that a bit. I believe for PLA it needs to be a little hotter. We don't want it to melt, but we want it to be able to extrude. We'll do 160. Okay, it's heating. Let's take a look at the handbook, see what it says. I did take a browse to the manual, which I have on my computer, and for PLA it says 180 degrees, which actually does kind of make sense, doesn't it? And then it wants the RPMs of the auger, of the whatever, to be 6, I guess. 6. So I'm going to hold down here. Now I can change the temperature to 180. There we go. And we're still waiting. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen next. This is a bag of PLA that looks like shards or something. And according to the manual, what you want to do is run this entire bag through the FelFil extruder first, because it's brand new and there could be metal particulates from assembly or from the process and putting it together. So this apparently is a waste product, or I guess maybe it's a cleaning product. There we go. It's a PLA cleaning product. But the filament that's made with this batch of PLA is not supposed to be used. I'll put it aside. but it'll be interesting to see it extrude, and that'll verify that we have some settings correct.
Later.
This is what you would do, right? If you were me, you'd be checking your phone, right? Oh, here we go. I'll do a selfie. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna tweet this out. Send. Let's open up this bag of PLA. So what they included in those bins was similar to the pellets that we used at Protopasta, because they were the HTPLA pellets. This is more like shards of PLA. Here, I'll put it close to this camera. It's kind of like shards of PLA. Oh, does this have a cover? Yes, okay. Oh, okay. We couldn't get started without taking off that cover. Aha! It's up to heat. Now it's to set RPM. For PLA it said 6. I'm gonna choose 6 and then click in. So now it says to pour in the PLA. Wow, the hopper does hold quite a bit. It smells warm, which is good because it says it's up to heat. Nothing's coming out the front end. Oh my God. I see the problem. Hold on just a sec. Let me move this camera. All right, I took a look inside, and hopefully through this camera, you can see that there's a problem. The blue wire going to the motor came out of where it should be. So let me get this apart and let's fix it. Now I gotta be careful because it did heat up, which means that it's warm down at this end. So here's where the fan attaches right here. This looks to have slipped out of this block right here. That is still attached, but this should go up in there. That needs a really tiny Phillips or flat screwdriver, which I have somewhere in my magical drawer of drawers. Success. There's warm. Oh, that's warm. But it is also insulated. So I'm currently not burning myself, which is great. I'm really happy about that. Good. Okay. I think we're good right now. Let me put it back together. Let's see what happens.
Eventually.
Okay. It only dropped down to 147, which is great, which is why it was still hot. Thankfully, my finger is okay. So it's going to get back up to 180. I'm going to set the RPMs, which will be 6, and then we'll be good. Just a sec. Here we go. Set RPMs. Ooh. I hear it. I think you can hear it as well. Looks like it's grabbing some filament. You can do it. You can do it. Okay, the readout, it keeps track of the amps, and it looks, or I think it's A for amps, and it's at 0.35, between 0.35 and 0.37. So the instruction manual does say you're only supposed to run this for a couple hours at a time. You're not actually a filament production plant with this, but I mean, a couple hours, you should still be able to get something out of it. We're trying. This is a slow process. This reminds me of that part from Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, where the Zamboni was about to run over a dude.
Careful, Austin.
This is a Zamboni incident here.
You're about to be killed by a Zamboni.
Oh, wow. I ain't giving up. I am not giving up. RPM 6, amps 0.75. Okay. It says at 1.8 it will automatically shut off to preserve itself and to not break itself, which is good. I can hear stuff. It sounds like stuff is moving, at least. Hey, by the time this video comes out, Avengers Infinity War should be out. I should have seen it. I'm hoping it's awesome. It should be an awesome movie. Sean, my editor, he's gonna love it as well when he sees it, no doubt.
Dust in the wind.
Nope. This is a long time. So let's dump this out. Let's take a look and see if there's a clog or a jam or something. There's no jam. All right, let's turn it on. It is slowly taking the PLA material, and the instruction manual didn't give an estimate as to how long it would take. My guess is we're not clogged. We got a little bit of filament! Tiny, tiny little bit. Super duper tiny. Okay. I made a mess. Maybe you can see some of the filament that's coming out. Here, I'll use the yellow handbook as a backdrop. There, now you can see. Got some filament coming out. Let's see, let's let it produce a little bit of filament. Let me go get something. I found my old calipers. It's missing a battery, but I should be able to at least get some reading. It is less than 2 millimeters. As far as an exact measurement, I don't know. This is calibrated for 1.75 millimeter material. All right, obviously I'm not gonna sit here and record hours worth of me just doing this. So my initial impression right now is that it seems to be built fairly well. I was easily able to put that wire back in. I think that this is a slow process, and I don't know if it's supposed to be this slow, so I will reach out to FelFil. Right now, though, I think what we should do is call this video done. Wait, stop! Stop everything! Stop. I didn't want to end it there. I had to get some lunch because I was hungry. And I have all of this. I've learned that the extrusion speed on this, according to the website, I believe is 1 or 1.5 meters per minute, which is not that fast. If filament comes out and it's undersized, you need to do something specific. If it's which is to decrease the temperature 2 to 3 degrees at a time. And if it's oversized, then you need to increase the temperature. But the problem is, with this PLA bits, I decreased the temperature all the way down to 167 degrees, and the motor had too much of a load and it put itself into protection mode, which you can probably see right there. I don't know why. Everything, I found my real calipers, but everything that was coming out of the machine was essentially 1. Here's 1.7. I did get some 1.7 stuff early on. 1.6, 1.2. I was unable to get any sort of consistent PLA extrusion through the machine. So according to the manual, what you do is you set it to 200, let it sit at RPM 0 for 20 minutes, and that moltenizes everything, and then you can spit it back out. But this is the bag of PLA that came with the machine. They sent these pellets, these ABS pellets. They sent these, well, it's a lot of PLA pellets right there. They sent those over, and I want to give those a try. So I'll see if I can get some sort of consistent extrusion through this machine. It does extrude plastic. It's horrifically slow. If it was just this plastic, I couldn't get anything that I could send through my printer consistently. So let's start at ground zero. I'm gonna reset, and then we're going to use those PLA pellets to just try to make some filament. That's the idea. Let's do it. To clean this out, I assume I just turn it over and I dump out everything. I wonder, oh, you know what? Some of these shards are huge. Maybe that's what was getting in the way. So we've emptied those out. The machine is off. Let's just make sure it gets up to temperature here so that everything in there doesn't solidify. I'm gonna go 180 degrees C. It only dropped to 143. Okay, good. Polylactic acid. Let's try some of this. So these are PLA pellets, and if you can see that right there, I mean, it looks like the HT PLA pellets that we used at Protopasta. It's not HT PLA. I'm gonna make a mess again, aren't I? So this is just natural PLA, not pigmented at all. I mean, those are huge, right? Because these little ones here, tiny little ones, those are the PLA pellets. So I think this is just going to go away. Be gone. One of the issues with this machine is the filament, as it's coming out of the nozzle here, it sticks to the nozzle itself. So I'm trying to pull the filament away from the nozzle. All right, I think we're at a point where I could give some sort of adjusted final thoughts. I like the idea, I like the concept, but the promise of making your own filament is not with this device. It's just not. A meter per minute at the fastest. That's the fastest it can produce filament. Right now, I'm at RPM 5, and this is how fast it's going. The other issue is it's not consistent with results. I'm upping the temperature, lowering the temperature, slowing it down, speeding it up, and I'm not able to verify that those changes equate consistent changes in the filament diameter. For example, I set it to 171 as I was going down and RPM 5, and as it cooled down, as it made a stretch of filament here, I was able to measure 1.4, 1.6, 1.91, 2.14, and back to 1.49, all within the same strand. And we're not talking over dozens of meters here. We're talking over 1.5 feet. That, honestly, is the deal breaker right there. If I am unable to tinker with this and through tinkering achieve consistent results, then there's no way that I can shove any sort of plastic through this machine to get filament for my 3D printer to use, let alone a giant tub of pellets, let alone a bunch of failed prints.
Day 2.
Oh my goodness. It's amazing what a good night's sleep, some coffee, a shave, and a shower will do to a person. Plus, new shirt. This is one of my favorite shirts because E.T. the video game was one of the best games of all time, obviously. But let's talk about the FelFil Extruder. When I left you last time, I believe I was very doom and gloom and was not convinced that this was a viable option. So earlier today, after I did everything that's good for me in the morning, I tried again. I got an email from FelFil because I sent them a note, and they said that they have good luck at RPM speed 7 at 180C with PLA, no problem, give it a go, it should work just fine. And I started thinking that black PLA, dusty, chippy looking stuff that they gave me in the bag that I put in there first, for some reason, I think maybe that was the issue at first. So here's what I'm thinking. All of the parts of that PLA that was black and kind of looked like rock chips or wood chips, it was irregular in size. So maybe you couldn't heat it consistently, and that's what was causing extruder problems. So I emptied as much of it out as I could, and I filled it with, you know, the little tiny PLA pellets, and I just set it to go. And first, I got a lot of the black out, and then it started to turn clear. This is an hour's worth of work. Once it went clear with the PLA, through adjustments, it started out at 1.1 millimeters in diameter, and I was able to get it to consistently 1.4 to 1.5, and the instructions say if it's too small, you need to reduce heat by a couple degrees and then try again. I did that all the way down until it wouldn't go anymore. So at the heat too low, it couldn't maintain any sort of RPMs to drive the plastic through the extruder, and it would set off the alarm. The motor would hit 1.8 amp draw, and it would shut itself down in its emergency protocol. Again, this is me just trying. I said I'm going to give it a solid hour. And these extrusions are fantastic if you need 1.1 to 1.47 diameter filament, which I don't. I take 1.75, I take 2.85 or 3.0. That's fine. I'm just sad because I couldn't get anything out of this machine that I could use. And I think giving it another hour, I think is valid. And I think giving an opinion after that hour is also very valid. Because I think what FelFil has done here has created a great tinkering product. Maybe with more time, a lot more time, I could actually get extrusions out of this machine that I could use in my 3D printers. But I don't have more time to tinker with this. And I think that's the issue right there. Anyone expecting an out-of-the-box experience where You just hit a button and out pops miles of filament, or kilometers of filament if you're across the pond. That's not it. This is not what you're looking for. I think this is a start. I think this is where we need to start. I think something like this is neat, but at the same time, maybe another 4 or 5 hours, I could have dialed it in. But the worry is, once it's dialed in, I don't know if I could maintain any sort of consistency. It seemed like every time the heater went on, the motor would decrease in speed slightly. And it's that sort of variance in a system that is going to produce variances in your filament. Normally, you're printing with filament and you look on it and it says it has a plus minus variance of 0.02 to 0.07 millimeters. Hopefully you're at the median of about 0.05, which is what a lot of filaments out there do. But you need to get at least to 1.75 and then have that variance rather than 1.47. Oh, I'm so sad. So in the end, and after some sleep and some coffee and a shower and a shave, my opinion isn't so doom and gloom on this, but I do think that this is not a product for me and not a product for a lot of people. I believe if you had your own makerspace or you loved material sciences, I think that's where this platform comes from. I believe this, at least in my opinion, is more of an experimentation platform than something that you can use on a daily basis to spit out a bunch of filament for use. Because it has its duty cycle and it shuts off anytime that motor goes above a certain amp draw, at the most I used it for 20 minutes in that hour, and then it just kept hitting it every 5 minutes or so when I was experimenting. But it ran 20 minutes on its own before it hit its emergency shutoff. Well, there you go. I'm going to put a link down in the description to FelFil. Contact them, reach out, ask them questions. If you think this is something for you, then more power to you. The link should lead you to a place where you can buy it. But my personal opinion is that this machine is not for me. It's not for a lot of people. And I really, at this point, probably would still not recommend it. It's not doom and gloom, but I wouldn't recommend this product. All right, there you go. That's it. I'm gonna pack this up. Maybe I'll reach out to FelFil, and maybe there's someone else in mind locally that I could give it to who could tinker on it or play with it or try to make it do what they need it to do. But for me, for now, my extrusions are gonna come from filament suppliers and Proto Pasta, because, you know, they're local and they're good people. Well, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're not, ring that bell, and click any link in the description to benefit the channel. I would really appreciate it. Beyond all that, don't forget to hug each other more. I love you guys, as always. High five.